defeated Bug in turns in Game 3.
Yeah, I saw the Game 2 Vendilion Click response to Stoneforge Mystic, revealing Sword of Feast Famine and Batterskull. So we're off. John Elden plays a fetch and passes.
There we go. Nicholas Smith on the right here. His Maverick list. Let's see. One of the things, he's got one Fauna Shaman, which is a thing that we've seen a lot of the Maverick lists move away from.
I think Adam Kai started that at the Invitational. He had a Fauna Shaman or two in his list.
Well, they've been around for a while, but they have been diminishing. I mean, I've been seeing less and less lately, but this is the card that Patrick has been making fun of. Not in play with the Green Suns for the Dried Arbor. That's not the part that Patrick's been making fun of. He's been making fun of Maverick's mom, the Mother of Runes.
The mom.
Obviously a very powerful card.
In
Patrick
certain matchups,
definitely calls it a very powerful card. But as Patrick pointed out, the unfair decks do laugh at
They
mom.
laugh at that. You have a 1/1, they have a flying Emrakul monster.
Yeah, you have a 1/1, they have 10 spells that turn.
Yeah. So after the Green Sun Zenith, he passed. It looks like Nicholas had 2 Swords of Plowshares in his hand. Like, you definitely want one for the Stoneforge Mystic, but afterwards they get a little unwieldy.
Now, in terms of this matchup, this is basically a matchup of decks doing things that are largely quote-unquote fair. If Jace the Mind Sculptor is fair, if Knight of the Reliquary is fair.
Knight of the Reliquary doesn't do anything. So Nicholas's when you cast it, Nicholas's Dried Arbor gets sorted, effective wastelanding him. Nicholas here wants to just power out a early Knight of the Reliquary or some creatures and overwhelm John's defenses. One way he can do that is with 2 of the copies of Cavern of Souls in his deck, which makes Force of Will look a little awkward.
Now, Force of Will is a card that oftentimes finds its way to the sideboard after Game 1. It's just a lot of matches that you don't want it. And then on the other hand, against the busted decks.
Yeah, if there's a key card that you have to absolutely at all costs stop from resolving, Force of Will is what you want, the glue that holds Legacy together. But against very fair decks like green-white creatures, it's just card disadvantage. You can't keep doing that.
Stoneforge Mystic, fetching up an Umezawa's Jite, a very potent weapon against another creature-based deck. What Nicholas needs right now is to... This is so funny. He needs to put the Mom into play.
He does.
Or get a Kasali Pride Mage going.
Yeah, generally, John chose the Jite because the Jite is able to kill Nick's smaller creatures, which is what you pretty much have to do. There's 1 Swords on the Stoneforge Mystic.
Swords will make it take some more time before a Jite can start doing anything. One thing that's really interesting about Nicholas Smith's list, this is not necessarily that effective against John Elden, except for in stymieing Snapcaster Mage, but he has 3 Scavenging Ooze main, really respecting the power of that graveyard hate.
So the Swords of Plowshares got Force of Willed by John, which I think Nicholas is very happy to see that, because it pitched a Brainstorm, and he has another Swords to use on the Stoneforge at his leisure.
And there's the Scavenging Ooze. Okay, so what we're going to see here is John Elden has the ability to put Umezawa's Jite into play, but with Nicholas Smith's Swords to Plowshares. Here he's showing it.
Swords in response activate, vialing in a Batterskull. He does have it.
Wow.
So that is not exactly what Nicholas wanted to see, I don't think.
John did not tutor that up. He just had that naturally drawn.
That was always the gambit in the Cawblade era of you tutor for equipment, but do you have the other one?
And we see Nicholas contemplating his next move.
Swords is still in the stack, it looks like. Got some thinking going on. Go tend your farm, Stoneforge Mystic. Got crops to yield.
You had a sword. Now you do not.
Now you have a battering ram with a germ attached to it.
Such an interesting image.
Yeah, and why does it have lifelink? Who knows?
It definitely seems like one of those cards that was not designed for flavor, unless there's some sort of strange storyline thing that is really, really deep in flavor.
Yeah, I don't think so. I remember they tacked on the bounce ability toward the end of the development of that card.
And now we see a Savannah, and Mother of Runes comes on down. Now, one of the question marks that's going to happen is if John Elden has the mana for an Umezawa's Jite right now.
That will, if he has the 4th land, it will not be good for Nicholas at all.
Oh, there it is. Scalding Tarn is going to go find something.
All right.
There's the basic island. So we could have a very quick Game 1 here.
Yeah, if Nicholas can rip a Kasali Pride Mage and kill the Batterskull, like he could probably somehow fight his way back. But if he doesn't have that this next turn, things.
I mean, he does have Umezawa's Jite of his own to Legend Rule, but that won't come in quick enough to save Mom.
Nope.
The germ comes in and kills Mom.
Her family may protect other families, but she can't protect herself the turn she casts her.
It's a sad story, really.
No, it really is. Not the mother of goons, word to me, but actual mother.
2 tokens on the counters, on the Umezawa's Jite.
Nicholas chose to not block, it looks like, to make him use one of those counters.
And there it is. Dead Mom.
That's sad. You don't like seeing dead moms.
No, it's true.
Right,
Horizon Canopy. There's also a Caracas. I think, was that another Savannah? And Scavenging Ooze. 1 or 2 other cards in Nicholas's hand that I don't think are particularly useful right now.
He has a fistful of lands, which you need them to cast your spells, but right now,
He settles on Horizon Canopy, looking for less development on the board over the next turns, but hopefully finding some answer to that Batterskull before it's too late.
You can cycle it now and maybe look for a 3rd Swords and slow him down some, or
I think temporary solutions like that just dig him into a pit at this point.
Sure, but at this point you pretty much have to just be hoping John doesn't have a whole lot of follow-ups and just makes him slow, bounce, recast it. He can find a Prime Mage in time. All right, so he casts
the Ooze.
His Ooze, the secret of the Ooze, if you will.
Ooze can become a 3/3 if it needs to. There is a Mom in Nicholas's yard.
There's also a Dried Arbor, so it can become a 4/4.
Oh wow, I didn't even see the... Is the Arbor? No, the Arbor has been removed. Arbor's been removed.
John is contemplating his turn. Bash, it looks like.
The pointing at the germ, an indication it's attacking.
It's attacking Vigilance.
It's kind of, when I have that Vigilance, I always tend to shove my creature a little forward.
I shake it a little bit. Give it a little shake. Yep, take 4.
Takes 4. 25 to 13. Three counters, now on Umezawa's Jite. And John is trying to decide if he wants to start using them to hit that Ooze. He knows that Nicholas put it down on purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
So he's thinking, what's the play that Nicholas might be trying to go towards here? And Nicholas think that Ooze is going to eat Mom?
Eat the Mom. In response, use the Jite to give it -1/-1. That resolves, does it again.
And he eats Mom in response, perhaps?
Yeah, make him use that last counter on that artifact Planeswalker.
Oh, he does not. Instead, uses the Scavenging Ooze to remove the Swords to Plowshares in John's yard. And that makes the Snapcasters that John has in his deck slightly less good. But that does leave a counter on the Umezawa's Jite.
Alright, so Nick taps. Let's see what he draws here.
Oh, Vendilion Click. Let's see what he drew.
Click in the draw step.
But I think this is going to be a you get to keep him kind of... Oh, yeah.
No Pride Mage? Alright, you're good.
Keep him. That sounds good by me. We will expect a Horizon Canopy to be cracked on Nicholas's turn here. And there it goes, Horizon Canopy to the yard. Nicholas looking desperately for something.
He draws a Cavern of Souls.
And he just scoops it up. He knows that the ability to get out of this at that point, not so good. Nicholas Smith on the right, John Elden on the left. John Elden up 1 game. What do we have from the board for Nicholas Smith to come back?
Nicholas definitely has the 2 chokes, which is pretty standard nowadays. He was hoping to choke John out of his blue mana sources.
I like 1 Armageddon.
Armageddon, another choke, yeah, but this gets everything.
I think that's Gotterdammerung in German, but
perhaps.
Ouch.
So the 3 LD effects. Armageddon, that's a classic one. It looks like that might be it.
I do like Phyrexian Metamorph as a means to copy a scary piece of equipment, to kill a Vendilion Click, to kill a Jite.
And he gets to use the Vendilion Click's ability.
Pithing Needle is not incredible, but it's acceptable as a means to answer Jace. It does do some stuff against that Stoneforge Mystic, turning off the ability, but you really are, I think, working a little bit of stretching there.
Yeah, it also disables Jite if you can get it out before he equips or so he can't activate it, but you're being reactive against a control deck in your aggressive deck, and that's not really where you want to be.
Now, next, John Elden, 2 Wrath of God. Just going straight for it.
Yeah, Wrath of God, Terminus, these cards are generally good against the creature decks.
Path to Exile, while it is card disadvantage, sometimes when you are looking at a Knight of the Reliquary, you're willing to give up a little bit of card advantage in order to get rid of a huge, powerful monster.
Yeah, while you want to Swords the Noble Hierarch, Swords the Dried Arbors, you don't really want to path them, but you cannot let them untap with Knight.
Do you like Sower of Temptation in this matchup?
It's a little slow and kind of unwieldy because they're going to keep in at least a couple swords to stop your Stoneforges and whatnot. It depends on what he boards out. Let's see, he's probably going to board out the 4 Force of Wills. Maybe he'll probably keep in his 2 copies of Relic of Virginius to keep the opposing knights small.
Spell Pierce has a strange set of targets. Stopping a Green Sun Zenith is awesome, but a lot of the rest of it might be hard to actually manage to hit.
Yeah, this deck, the Maverick deck generally has enough mana to pay for Spell Pierce, unless of course your Zenith gets pierced or whatever. So I would definitely board those out. So that John had 4 Spell Pierces, so that's 8 cards off the bat.
Relic of Progenitus is useful. It can make the Knight of Reliquary be smaller. I expect that will be a card that might just be a kind of filler that sticks around.
Yeah, just the with Reanimator being a very good deck, just some main deck graveyard hate, and it's also it can hit lots of random things, Snapcaster targets, what have you. In case someone's playing Accumulated Knowledge, it's good against them.
Oh, Accumulated Knowledge, you're bringing me back.
Yeah, Intuition for 3 of them.
That is awesome. Ack, ack, ack.
Ack, ack. Or the Lingering Souls decks, which we've kind of seen a separation from the Lingering Souls Esper decks. With combo kind of being a thing, like Grizzlebrand versus the World, I believe as Drew Levin put it. Lingering Souls is kind of slow, so we've seen a shift away from that and just into Spell Pierce heavy blue-white control decks.
Yeah, and worth noting, this kind of deck, better equipped to fight against a Sneak and Show, and then better equipped even a little bit more with Relic of Progenitus to fight against the Reanimation style.
Yeah.
Not better equipped than I think a Sneak and Show deck is prepared to fight back.
Yeah.
But still having more weapons than other versions of Stoneblade used to have.
Yeah, well, generally with the control versus combo, you've got, 4 Swords of Plowshares. Like, you're a little bit of a dog versus combo game 1. That's just how it works. And then game 2 and 3, you sideboard out all these useless, quote-unquote, useless cards for at least cards that can make it up versus the combo decks. But you want to have a decent game versus the whole field game 1 with your control decks.
How do you feel about Vendilion Click times 3 against Maverick?
Probably board out at least one of them. They don't have Vendilion Clicks. Generally, when your click can come online, either you pitch him to forest or he comes online a little late to the party. Like if they go turn 1 Mana Source, turn 2 Knight, and then turn 3 Knight, which is ideal for the Maverick deck. Vendilion Click doesn't do a whole lot there, but he's still useful for attacking with equipment, like a Jite unmolested in the air. Both decks have 1 Crocus as generally the normal nowadays. Some of the Maverick decks have been running 2, just to LD opposing Croc-Eye, or to make sure you get the land for the Grizzlebrand decks.
For those of you who are just joining us, this is the last round of the Swiss here in Detroit, the Star City Games Open Series. This is SCG Live. I'm Adrian Sullivan, joined by David McDarby. On the left, Stoneblade, up game 1. On the right, Maverick, looking to get the next 2 in order to take this match. One of these players is hoping to be able to make the top 8. Yep. Now, John Elden on the left, currently seeded 12th. One of the top 16s. He has to win and then also hope that some bad draw decisions are made or some bad results for some hopeful people at the 18 mark ahead of him.
He's hoping some math magic will push him into this top 8.
And then Nicholas Smith, the top 16, so has a little bit better shot should he come to that point.
All right, so going into game 2. See if they keep their hands. Nick has a Green Sun, some lands, a GT in his hand, and they both do. Forest, Green Sun for 0. What do you think is going to go get?
I don't know.
Is Painter
Memnite?
Painter serving on green Memnite?
Yeah. And we're going to see. Here it comes, the Dryad Arbor.
The greatest arbiter of them all. Dryad Arbiter.
Build your own Llanowar Elf.
Yep. So what makes a Green Sun a very powerful card in Legacy? You cast it on turn 1, cast it on turn 5. It's always good. Shuffle back in, have a density of threats. So John is hoping that's supposed to go land, swords, your Dryad Arbiter.
Island.
Island go. Most powerful play in the history of Magic the Gathering. Looks like he drew a choke there. Do you think he goes just for the turn 2 choke?
Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, wait a second. Wait, what else is in his hand?
Pride Mage and a GT. Cavern of Souls.
I mean, one of the problems with going for the turn 2 choke, honestly, is that there are blue sources in John Elden's list that are not islands. He runs Glacial Fortress.
Nicholas chooses to play the GT, probably hoping to equip a Dryad Arbor next turn, perhaps. Yeah, pretty much every control deck now, due to choke, has been playing 1 or 2, M12 lands or filter lands from Lorwyn, just to have outs to the chokes. To tap out. And the Cavern of Souls is named Human, so he can cast his Knights and his Mother of Runes unabashed.
And we're going to wait to see where John goes from here. Does he like that GT in play?
Hard to say.
And it's fine, I guess.
Bash for 1 with my land. My land man. So we can't see John's hand, but from playing the island, it doesn't look like he has a white source. Well, he has a Tundra now. So maybe he's waiting on the swords to equip the Dryad Arbor, or just keeping the swords so now he's just kill your big dude's plan and not hamper your mana plan.
I'm going to see in a moment what happens. Will Nicholas go for the equip here? He goes for the equip. He's like, okay,
Sure.
says John. Wait until you've tapped it to attack. Let's see if there's a thing happening now. Disenchant. Wow.
Disenchant from the board.
And it looks like that used to be a Gravedigger. I can see the proxy written on it. And maybe is that a Glacial? I can't quite tell what those have been proxied for.
It's doing the job it was intended for, at least.
And did Nicholas choose not to lay a land there? Caracas perhaps his only land left in hand and he wants to hold it back?
Yeah.
Be a little tricksy with it? No, he has a Cavern in hand too.
He played the Cavern this turn and named Human, or was that last turn?
That was last turn.
That was last turn, yeah.
Remember, he spent the 2 mana,
Yes.
lays the GT, and then attacked with the Dryad Arbor right after. Just holding back on that.
Maybe he is doing the whole, please swords my Dryad Arbor. Because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
have
yeah,
I don't have
that's
any mana. Please
That's
swords
fair.
him.
You would really hurt my mana if you got rid of this guy. That is a ugly brainstorm.
I always play with white bordered brainstorms, whether they be 5th edition or beat down.
That's funny.
Brainstorm is a brainstorm is a brainstorm.
I really like that particular brainstorm art, but with a black border.
You like the one where you can actually see his brain in the storm clouds?
What do we got? Waiting for John Elden. That's a main phase brainstorm, which is the best kind of brainstorm.
It is.
Waiting to see all of the decisions that John has here. I mean, if you think about the math of it, we are talking about a pretty large number, depending on how many cards are in John's hand. 2 cards go back.
See if he has a fetch line to shuffle away those 2 cards. 'Cause without fetch lines, brainstorm is very underwhelming.
Yeah, this is absolutely true, and no land drop.
No fetch
Wow.
line. Like, all right. So Nicholas draws a Knight, which is uncounterable due to the Cavern he has in play. So if John doesn't have lands, the old brainstorm main phase, hope to hit lands, not hitting lands, is one of the surest ways to fall down this slippery slope into defeat in Legacy.
Does Nicholas choke?
Do you choke or Knight here?
He's going to say he's attacking for 1. Let's see if that swords happens. I think he's knighting. Nighty night.
Coter. resolves. Yeah. Of course, it's going to resolve.
He's thinking about the swords here.
You can't. Oh, path. All right.
Path works.
You have to do it. If you untap this Night, Wastelands, and that would be game. It's probably going to get Plains? Forest. Lars are irrelevant. John does not have any Wastelands in his deck.
John could have sideboarded in one of his Wasteland. He's got one Wasteland in the board.
Well, just one on the board. Miser's Wasteland. Don't want to put it to waste.
The extra land for mana, and then maybe for value. And Nicholas says go.
John draws not a land. I'm willing to bet.
The whiffing on the Brainstorm is such a rough moment. When you put cards, you're looking for something, don't find it, and you're forced to spend the next 2 draws finding them again.
But he has Stoneforge, which shuffle away one card that he knew. And he's going to get probably another G-type.
Little does he know that waiting in the wings, a choke will hold his mana down forever.
If he doesn't have the force for the choke, which he probably won't, I would say you'd side those out. Things are going to get a little rough for John.
I completely agree. I think that might be a moment of lights out.
Yeah.
Could we see what artifact he got? Was it a Jite?
I could not tell.
I could not tell either. The grabbing was off of camera.
John is staying off camera, away from the paparazzi for this match.
Very Bieber-like.
Yeah, ooh, he draws a Wasteland, so...
He doesn't need to use it yet. That choke holds down that land anyway.
Yeah.
I would open with choke here and see what happens from there. Oh, he's looking at that choke and he's looking at that Wasteland. There we go. That's right. It's 1-2.
1-2.
Pride Mage.
The old cat wizard. John is thinking. It resolves more than likely. In 3 mana, he goes for the throat with this choke.
How do you feel about this choke? You probably don't have days.
Put a stranglehold on you.
And it works.
Alright. Choke online. And I have a 2-2 with Exalted online. They can stop the equipment if you ever draw 2 lands for the Stoneforge Mystic.
It's going to take so much effort from John Elden to break out of this. I'm pretty confident we're going to be looking to a Game 3 here.
Which I'm glad. I love Game 3s. They're the most exciting. Alright, pass the turn. No lands, no action, no foul, no spells to cast. Draws a Green Sun. Green Sun for Night.
And a Nighty Night.
Yeah, 99 with the Night. Good night.
In for 3.
The Exalted mechanic, the returning mechanic for M13. We must face a greater challenge. John does not block, goes to 15. Green Sun for 3. Maybe he'll go get Eternal Witness, perhaps? Centaur Corsair?
Ooh, Centaur's nice.
Yeah, he's a 3/3 for 3. That's on curve. Green Sun Zenith. Okay, John kept in his Force of Wills for the chokes, the Green Suns, but he did not have the Force of Will, I don't think, when the choke resolved. I can't imagine him letting the choke resolve.
Yeah, if he let the choke resolve, that's madness.
Yeah, so he does Force of Will the Green Sun, which is kind of the dichotomy in Standard as well. Green Sun and Cavern. How do you run them in tandem? Cavern lets you guys be uncounterable. Green Sun is counterable, but it gets your mana and your threats. It really just depends.
Mishra's Factory.
Cannot choke that assembly worker.
And a total right now of 5 power on Nicholas's side of the board, but he can make that a little bit better. Wasteland first on Mishra's Factory.
Attack for 3, perhaps. Can it be more?
I thought oh, yeah. Oh, that was the green sense that got countered. No.
Yep.
Yeah, just so 5 is all that it could possibly be. And he's just coming in with the single card there, the ooze. I'm kind of confused why he didn't come in with both of his creatures there.
Or all 3 of them, even.
Well, I don't know about all 3, because if the
draw
1/1
box.
would die to the 1/2.
A Squire, gotcha.
But, 4 is better than 3.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And we have a fetch land.
This fetch land cannot get an unchokable land in John's deck, however. A little rough. But if he draws another land, he'll be able to vial in whatever equipment he got with the Stoneforge, which will probably go down to the Pride Mage.
Imagining here if we had an attack before with +1 damage, like this attack.
It looks like Nicholas has realized the error of his ways, or just has changed his strategy and attacks for 4.
Dropping John Elden to 6. 5 would be nice, though.
It'll probably be 5 when he cracks that fetch line.
Well, then if you would have been at 4.
4?
That's a big deal. It's a full turn's worth of attack.
Every 1 point matters. 1 life is all you need to play in Magic. The other 19 are just padding.
That is a Noble Hierarch. Now only 1 guy attacking actually is the same amount of damage.
Yes. Attack for 4 with my 2 creatures. The Ooze and the Cat. Brawl put John to 2. John draws. Hoping to crack the fetch and violin, probably a Batterskull, I'd say, I guess. Not sure what else could even stand a glimmer of chance against that Pride Mage.
Oh, well, the Pride Mage, I think.
Yeah,
that's it, if you ask me. Unless he has somehow found a way to fit balance into his deck, despite it being banned.
Yeah. He draws another fetch land, but he's at 2, so he cannot quite activate those lands and survive to tell the tale. Writing is on the wall. Two mana. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. The Neo Glow Rider has a little bit of defense to Nicholas' team, and he swings in. And yeah, John's dead.
To the next.
The exciting final match in this round 8 feature match here at Star-City Games Detroit, which is in Michigan, which is near Canada, which you can see from across the river from where we are.
And some of these players will win, some will lose.
And some are born
to sing the blues. That's right.
We're not quite in South Detroit, though.
Well, that would be Canada, right?
Yeah, it would be. Oh, some Canadians have come to play in this tournament.
Actually, our head judge today is from Canada.
Indeed, he is. Well, I'm a buyer, and I have been buying and selling cards to many Canadians today.
Eh?
Don't you know they're Those are Canadians there with their Canadian money. One of them actually asked, can they get Canadian money? And I was like, no, only have American money.
Yeah, actually, well, never mind. I'm not going to go into my tales of loonies and toonies.
Yeah, and Mounties.
From the game 2 there, John Elden really struggling with mana. Nicholas Smith helping him out with a choke and with a wasteland. But even so, I mean, that early game, that brainstorm stumble, he was able to shuffle with the Stoneforge Mystic the next turn.
Yeah.
But that stumble was a huge moment in the game.
Yeah, that's generally how these games go. The Stoneblade deck runs about 24 lands, but if you main phase brainstorm with, you can't do that in Legacy, really. It's not gonna fly. But it looks like John did keep in at least 1 Force of Will, probably preempting a choke. While you can Sword another Reliquary, and you can also disenchant the choke, which is an oftentimes thing. Stoneblade has the disenchant for the chokes, for the equipment, and what have you. Just a good all-around sideboard card.
What do you think of Sword and Feast and Famine?
Yeah, you need it, because a lot of times the Stoneblade deck, you'll be behind, you'll be struggling, but you equip a sword, attack them, untap, and equip the sword to another guy, which can block pretty much every creature in their deck.
Knight of the Reliquary certainly can't get through by itself.
Can't get through. The white creature generally too small. You can Mother of Runes and give the creature the protection from white or blue or whatever, but without that, it sets up a good roadblock.
Well, then the active use of Mother of Runes in that way, that aggressive use, opens up that creature with swords hitting it.
Swords in, and then do you have a Scrib Ranger? The old Scrib Ranger, untap my Mother of Runes, give protection, blow you out. The old Scrib Ranger. What does he do? He does about 15 things.
Scrib Ranger is one of those cards that has so much text on it that you don't realize, I should say so many abilities on it, that you don't realize sometimes if you aren't very familiar with it, just everything that it can do. You're like, oh wow, I didn't realize that my Wasteland wouldn't work. Or someone might say, oh, I didn't realize that this combat step would be so terrible.
Yeah, untap your Mother of Runes, give things 2 protections. Scrib Ranger is a green flying creature. It's a fairy, pro blue. It's one of the throwbacks to the original fairies were green.
You know, I definitely remember moments where in numerous tournaments I've had a Scrib Ranger in play and an opponent has attacked and knew all of the abilities but didn't realize it was pro blue.
Yeah.
And I have killed in the last, I'd say, 6 months, 2 Vendilion clicks that way.
Vendilion click is the main offense to Scrib Ranger's deathly ways of destroying all the creatures in his path.
I tried to kill a Stoneforge Mystic, a Snapcaster Mage, and unfortunately after I declared the block, and the person realized, oh wow,
Pro blue?
They then Swords of Plowshares after the block.
That's okay, I'll take it. Sword's my 1/1 flying creature that hopefully has gotten some value on the way down. So.
Oh yeah, it did some other stuff.
Yeah.
It did some other stuff. They were prepared for that other stuff.
Not for the protection from blue. Protection from the best color in the game.
They were very fortunate in, for some reason at the low-level event that this was at, they got some take-backsies from the judge.
Oh, takesy backsies. And F&M deviate like heck at F&M. That's kind of the judge's motto. I'm also a judge, so I know a little bit of stuff.
John Elden on the left, Stoneblade, Nicholas Smith on the right, Maverick. 2 pillars of perhaps yesterday's legacy.
Yes, pre-Grizzlebrand legacy. Both players have kept. John, yet again, Pluto Delta Go. So Nicholas is wanting to get some kind of acceleration down here on turn 1, and Green Sun for 0 is that acceleration.
That has been, I think, 3 Green Suns for 0 in a row.
Yeah.
Game 1, Game 2, Game 3.
You've got 4 Green Suns, 4 Noble Hierarchs. That's your acceleration for turn 1. And Mother Runes is not terrible. It's less important in the control matchups as opposed to like the Delver matchups. If you turn 1 Mother Runes, you better lightning bolt it right now or forever hold your peace. So Nicholas gets the Dryad Arbiter. And does John decide to go on the hamper your mana plan with his swords? Does not untaps. Does he have a Stoneforge Mystic for 2? That's generally the play you want. The nut draw of turn 1 Swords, turn 2 Stoneforge, turn 3 Activator, V-Click, turn 4 Jace. But John might be on the hold all my mana up, Wrath of God, all your creatures, and then Swords of Plowshares, the stragglers.
Absolutely. One of the things I've been finding, I've been running Bug Control for a little while now. You see the Wrath of Gods in the sideboard here for John Elden. I'm running Damnations in my sideboard, and I actually managed to fit 1 Damnation main. I see 1 Wrath of God main here for John Elden. And they were custom made for matchups like this, where what does Maverick generally want to do? It's usually going to have a Dryad Arbor in play. It's usually going to have some set of creatures in play, but they're not all going to necessarily be green.
Yeah.
So that Wrath of God, that Damnation, really effective against this deck.
Nature's Rune, Virtue's Rune, Perish. Pick your poison, but good old Wrath of God. 3 words. Destroy all creatures.
Bury in the old school terms.
Bury, cannot be regenerated. 3 mana and another Reliquary. The promo from the Knights vs. Dragons deck.
I actually prefer the original art to that art.
I like that one just because it's Wayne Reynolds, one of my favorite Magic artists.
Fair enough, fair enough.
He also does a lot of the art for the Pathfinder role-playing game series.
In Magic, do you have a favorite Wayne Reynolds art?
I really like the Dubbing Season only because when I had him sign it, he signed it twice.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
In any Wayne Reynolds art, I have quite the affinity to, despite him not doing a lot of cards with that text.
There was a while back, I had some Icarids that got lost since then that I had signed by Bruce Campbell.
Oh, yeah?
And he wrote on them, "It's a trick, get an axe."
I'm hoping the new Audric person from M13, I'm hoping to get George Clooney to sign him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it looks like the Knight resolves.
Knight is on the table.
John had some thinking, so that spells out maybe a Force of Will in his hand. It seems like a Force of Will in his hand, because nothing else, no other counter spells in his deck could get this Knight. But he's playing with the, perhaps, keep unwastelandable lands in play, Wrath of God, your Knight, and your Dryad Arbor.
Now note, those fetched lands just sitting there waiting to power up brainstorms, waiting to save themselves from the problem of a wasteland.
Yep, the big scary thing about Knight right now anyway is that it can just wasteland you for 3 or 4 turns in a row. But if you don't have non-basics, then it just gets bigger and then kills you. Like, he can get utility lands, but if you have a Wrath of God without getting wastelanded here, he's in a pretty good spot, I'd say.
John Elden wishing he had a land tax in play.
Soon he will have the chance to be able to have that at the Grand Prix Atlanta.
I so can't wait for those Wasteland Myself games. Turn off your land tax.
Yep. I'm wondering if Grand Prix Atlanta, the old Mox Diamond, discard a land, land tax go play is going to be common sight. Of course, then your opponent could just be blue, Shady City Traders, Lotus Petal, Show and Tell, Emrakul, Blizzardbrand, and then you're dead. But John cracks his Flooded Strand for a Plains, plays a fetch land, which is interesting, and paths the Knight.
And the claim he's making here, +1 card for Nicholas Smith, way less of a big deal than a Knight sticking around.
Nyla Aquari is worth infinite card advantage if you start untapping it and going to town. So John is currently fine against a choke. He's under no pressure, and it's Nicholas's going to be turn 4, which is kind of where you want to be when you're the Stoneblade player, is not under any pressure.
Look at that. All of these things in play, none of them any threat. That Dryad Arbor, sure, it can deal 1 damage, but that is no threat.
That's not going to get there, at this point in the game at least. Nicholas has a Green Sun, so it looks like he'll have the chance to Green Sun for a Knight, which I think is what he's going to do. Play that Wasteland, tap it instead. Yeah! Tap the Wasteland for mana. You can do that. The alternative mode of Wasteland.
We see our first crack of the turn on the fetch lands here for John Elden.
Is this a Spell Pierce?
Spell Pierce could be the play. There's only 1 mana available from Nicholas Smith.
Spell Piercing this Green Sun would be pretty huge. Getting value off the Spell Pierce. He does have the Spell Pierce, so he's kept a lot of his counter spells in play. Nicholas is like, alright.
I have not played this matchup, so I'm not sure how useful the Spell Pierces are in this matchup. They are, I think, dead a lot, and yet the cards they can stop, the Green Sun Zenith, really big one to stop.
Alright, so if John untaps here and slams down a Jace, that's what you want to do in this matchup. No pressure, Jace. Brainstorm, brainstorm, brainstorm. Card advantage, kill you. This is his breathing moment. 2 mana, looks like Stoneforge probably. That's not bad.
Stoneforge.
Not bad.
Gonna get a Jite, gonna get a Sword of Feast and Famine. I like Jite here, first of all.
And Jite, kill the Dryad Arbor, kill him other runes if you happen to draw one.
He gets a Batterskull. Goes for the, essentially, take his turn to start switching the table around, being the aggressor rather than the defender.
Slow down your quick start, and then use my more powerful cards to defeat you. That's how it works. Nicholas has the swords and Pride Mage. So the Pride Mage will probably gack whatever equipment John vials into play. That is a choke.
Choke does a little bit here.
A little bit.
Not a great amount.
And
but
here
I mean,
it comes. It looks like
it will mean that the Delta on the other side of the table might have to be locked down if John wants to get out the Batterskull.
Yeah. John did have a firing back play with Stoneforge, but Nicholas in this game could go either way still completely.
Yeah, if John doesn't have another mana.
Choke is in there. And now it looks like
we can see a Thalia. Swords. Swords. Perhaps a poorly tapped choke.
100 bad guys with swords.
Is there a noble hierarch in Nicholas's hand at all?
Alright, so the Stoneforge Mystic goes to tend its crops. Or her crops, rather.
And in for 1. You know, I would have preferred to not deal that 1 damage. Unless Nicholas Smith is actively playing a round Wrath of God, which can't happen this turn, I would have preferred to tap the mana differently, do 1 less damage, and have a Mother of Runes in play.
Or at least have a Thalia. Was that a Thalia in his hand?
Well, he can't do the Thalia and the Swords of Plowshares.
No, but he could...
He could do the Mother, if that is, unless I'm missing what that card is.
Like, you can, if you can put a Thalia into play and then choke, and sure, you'll be able to use a Stoneforge Mystic, but you can Pride Mage the equipment. John doesn't have anything on his turn, really.
Knight of the Reliquary is in the hand now from this most recent draw phase.
It's a good draw step. That's what you want. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Protect me against the zombies. From Geralf's zombies. No zombies here. Not a whole lot of zombies in Legacy, unless you count the Sam Black Goblin Bombardment deck, which is very fun. John cracks. No, he doesn't.
He's thinking about it. He's like, maybe not. I'm not sure what I want to do here.
Yeah? You got to get some kind of blue source in this deck, at least.
Thinking again. I don't know.
Thalia's good when your control opponent has brainstorms and ponders and all these random cantrippy spells. They cost 2, and they're a little less good.
We see that island, and is he going to use it? It is being used. Disenchant for the choke.
Okay, that's what John wanted to do. Nicholas did not want to see that.
Okay, does he have an Apostle's Blessing to protect his choke?
Faith Shield. But
He's
doesn't he have another choke? All right, you can disenchant this choke. Sure.
I guess that's so terrible for me. Oh well.
Oh well. I never expect the second one though. Oh.
And here's the
How
second
about?
one.
Oh no.
Oh really?
Goes for a 9.
Oh,
all right.
Wow. I would have laid another choke there in a heartbeat.
I would have too. I guess he just wants to. Here's another threat.
Well, I mean, he already saw Spell Pierce. Perhaps he wants to be safe against Spell Pierce.
Yeah. Now Jace is less good right here, but Wrath of God is very good here.
God, Wrath would be so devastating. What are we gonna see?
He's got 3 of them in his deck.
There's a Wasteland.
Wasteland. All right. I'm cool with that.
2 mana.
Snapcaster. Snapcaster, path your Knight to the Reliquary.
Well.
Oh, it costs 2 mana. Thalia's in play. All right. Got it.
I'm choking. Choke him out, Nicholas.
All right, so that's all right. Make you Snapcaster. Use your turn. Now I'm going to choke you again.
Yep. I mean, right now we're basically looking at, a mixed martial arts fight here.
Yeah. Got some choking.
Gonna see if we can get him to submit.
Get him to the mat. All right, Wasteland.
Wasteland, the Wasteland, late choke.
Not bad.
Perhaps first attack to see if we can get anything to happen with that Flooded Strand.
Start the beats with my Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Very good art. I love the art on Thalia. It's my background for a long time.
There's an extra Wasteland, Wasteland times 2 on Nicholas Smith's side. John Elden did side in a Wasteland here.
He did.
That is where's 1, 2, 3? We need 4 mana there for this choke. Hello, choke.
The second one. Is this okay? Is this alright? Alright, I guess it is. Getting choked. You broke out of the first one. Let's see you get out of this one.
There is no situation you cannot escape.
You cannot escape. Pride Mage.
Pride Mage attacking now if that resolves. Yes?
Yes.
For 3.
Alright, so Nicholas is now got John under pressure. He cannot Wrath of God anymore. Currently. He needs to hit 2 lands to be able to Wrath of God. And I don't think he has one because I would have Wrath of God the last turn for sure. So he doesn't have one of those in his hand.
Seems better than casting Path to Exile.
Yeah, I know you're getting a Snapcaster right there. Because he really would have liked to Snapcaster and disenchant the choke. So if you're John, what do you know? Just hope you get swords, crack with Flooded Strand. What's he gonna get?
Plains?
Plains?
Oh,
Island.
wow. Island.
You know?
No fear.
What can he do with this 2 mana? Another Stoneforge?
He's got
Phantasmal Image.
Wow. Is that for the Thalia?
I guess it, or maybe for the Pride Mage to be able to destroy the choke.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep. That's another disenchant effect way.
He couldn't disenchant through the Thalia and the choke, but a Pride Mage of his own, his very, very own,
yes,
can do this. He'll
his
untap that Plains and
choke. So if Nicholas has a swords, anything that targets that, I don't think anything does really in his deck besides removal spells.
Linvala?
Oh, Linvala would be nice. Phantasmal Image, such an awesome card. Lets you really use a lot of play and kind of figure out the game and do unexpected things. So Nicholas attacks for 3.
Here we go, Thalia.
Nicholas drew another Wasteland, it looks like. Nicholas has enough lands. Come on, Dick. Get some spells.
Yeah. For those of you who are wondering, there was 4 mana tapped by Nicholas Smith. This has been confirmed by the table judge.
Yep, for the choke.
For the choke through the Thalia.
A lot of players like Thalia. Thalia is global. It also affects your Enchanted Honor of the Pure, your Oblivion Rings, your swords.
Yep, and Nicholas knew this, and he did pay for it.
That's very good. All right, so Nick passes, keeps the card in hand.
And just to be more than clear, not only does the judge say that Nicholas paid it, but John Elden himself says, yes, Nicholas paid for there.
Attack for 3 with my Pride Mage and my Stoneforge Mystic. My Cat Wizard Illusion. Alright, I'll take 3. And
No.
John passes because he's just going to choke at the end of his turn. Like, you can... There's no reason to do it on his turn, really.
Yeah, breaking it. I mean, I'm surprised he did this attack, honestly. I would have preferred a block.
A block.
And then, use my Jujitsu to get rid of that choke. But, that block of that Snapcaster, I mean, maybe he wants to fight it with it later on.
Yep.
And there it goes.
Chump a guy, or block a guy, destroy your choke with my illusion.
It's going to be -2 life for John Elden. The Phantasmal Image stopping a little bit there. And Nicholas Smith, his deck list is private right now. He doesn't have, John doesn't have access to it, but a third choke would have felt pretty rough for John Elden.
It does.
There is no third choke, but since they don't have each other's deck lists, they don't know yet.
You never know. Two choke is generally the run-of-the-mill in Maverick decks, but you never know. You never know.
Some people really want to choke people out.
Some are chokers. They love to choke.
His or her turn, and the proceed finds extra turn. Players with time extensions, please.
John has all his mana available to him. Taps Island to cast. Is it a Snapcaster Mage? No, it is a Brainstorm through the Thalia.
There we go. This is
Alright, Thalia, do work. So John is under some pressure. He's at 7. Nicholas has 5 power in play, counting the Dryad Arbor, which is interesting. He could have attacked last turn and forced through some more damage, but then you wouldn't have Dryad Arbor.
There is almost no time left in this round. 4 minutes. One thing to remember, you might be able to hear over the speakers, through to the microphones, through the internet to you, all the way through those tubes, that the judge said, oh, there's time, that's time. Well, these players, they do take a little bit of extra time to get over from the normal area to the feature area. They have 4 extra minutes.
Yep. So John brainstormed and didn't do anything. He's hoping to get a Wrath of God or something. Nicholas draws, I think, a Noble Hierarch, and then swings them with his 3 creatures.
That's 5 damage coming in. Snapcaster Mage is going to have to do some blocking.
Snapcaster...
Is it going to have a friend? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe.
Probably has another swords effect. Yep.
There it is.
Sword your Thalia?
I like getting rid of Thalia. Thalia is a monster.
Well, she's a human, but...
Well...
She's the opposite of a monster.
Well, how about a creature?
She's also a creature.
There we go.
Yeah, so you got a Swords of Thalia. And then block your Pride Mage. Yep.
Wow, swords the Pride Mage.
The Pride Mage.
Okay, fair. Would rather deal with Thalia than Pride Mage.
So John, not blocking with Snapcaster, signals that he probably has an equipment.
That was Jite?
A Jite in hand, a Sword of Feast of Famine in hand that he wants to get through.
I think it's a Jite. I think he's going to go Jite and ruin Nicholas Smith's board unless Nicholas has something to do about it. There's a fetch happening here.
Land, which is what he needs to get through with the Jite. Doesn't look he has a Jite, because if I were him, I would have snap, crack, pop that Scalding Tarn.
Nice.
And then quit the Jite and attack.
And then just eat those guys for breakfast. 4 islands and a plains.
There's the Jite, yep. 3 mana, cast it, 2 equip. Yeah, equip.
Here he comes.
Alright, attack for 2.
That 0-1 does not do very much to stop things. Nicholas Smith checks his hand. Nothing good there.
Nothing good. This is the turning point, I think, right now.
It's a land in Nicholas Smith's hand. I couldn't quite tell which one, but it was a land nonetheless.
John orchestrated that beautifully, swording the Pride Mage so he can't disenchant the Jite. Attacking with the Snapcaster. He kept back to block dutifully throughout the match. Just finding his out is getting this Jite online. Nicholas Hapswing casts another Reliquary.
Ouch.
That's what Nicholas needed. How big is the Nye right now?
I think 1, 2, 3, 7, 12, 15, 19, 19.
It's pretty big.
I know that it's bigger than 3-3.
Yes. What's important is that he's bigger than a 2-2. But attack for 2. Use a counter. Kill your Thalia. All right. fine. You got her. So
Go. I see definitely 2 lands in Nicholas's graveyard, but I'm not sure more than that. It's a 6/6? Oh, it's a 3/3.
It's a
okay.
3/3.
My bad. Oh, Sower.
Okay, he did bring in the Sower. This is a haymaker right here. Sower, all right. Give me
Here
that
you
knight.
go.
It's not Gilded Drake. You get to keep your creature. You have 2 now. Nicholas is sure to be sour about that.
Now, Nicholas, back footing here. Many, many more lands in John Elden's graveyard.
Yeah. That's a huge knight. And even has the planes to activate it.
A Phyrexian Metamorph wouldn't be terrible from Nicholas Smith right now.
Looks like Nicholas drew a green Zenith. Alright, well, that's the card you want for sure. What can he go get? You can get a Pride Mage?
Pride Mage will get rid of the GT, but that will mean that the Knight of the Reliquary is going to be dangerous. So we're going to see this Pride Mage. Probably. It's going to be a probable block on Knight of the Reliquary and then kill the GT. But, I mean, actually, I think that with that GT out there as it is, that Nicholas is just dead on the board because John can move the GT at different points. Instead, it looks like Nicholas putting a Scavenging Ooze, which can get very big on its own right.
It can get some of the lands of John's graveyard, because it's now the Reliquary is this 8/8. He has 6 lands in his graveyard. That's huge. That's a bigger knight in the control deck than it is in the aggressive deck. So knight being 8/8, Nicholas is hoping to ooze, do some stuff, survives, swords your Sower, swords your Sour. Green. Remove my Thalia, Guardian of Thraven. Will resolve? Alright. I will gain life and make my ooze a 3/3. How many lands you got in here? Says Nick. You will find the answer to that question is 6. Alright, his knight is too big to tango with any of Nick's creatures. So it looks like Nick needs to survive a turn, draw swords, swords your Sower, and hopefully survive. And the GT though, GT nullifies a lot of Nick's plans. The old adage of he who has GT is the one who wins the creature battle. That's an adage, I believe.
That is a classic adage.
Yes.
I remember one of the things when Umezawa's GT was first printed at the pre-release, several good players I know just kind of giving it the TLDR and not realizing how good it was.
Did. I know GT is one of the few cards in Limited that I would definitely board in a Cranial Extraction and say Umezawa's GT just to get out of their deck. It's so powerful.
I mean, we have seen at different points in the past, it's not common, but Manriki Gusari has shown up in sideboards in Legacy. Why? Get rid of a GT.
Get rid of a Battle Skull. Alright, John Path to Exiles, and Nicholas is like, alright, that's enough for me. You got it.
That's it. John Elden, his second time under the camera, and he takes it down.